Video released from 1 October shows a Metro police officer frightened with fear while leading a trainee and 3 Mandalay Bay security guards, all waiting in the hallway at Mandalay Bay as a gunman opens fire from the floor above. That revelation has sparked a debate on whether the officer's decision to stay in one place cost lives. 8 News Now reporter Shakayla Alvarenga is here to show us the controversial video that so many people today are talking about.
Yeah, Brian, in a written report, Officer Cordell Hendricks says he froze. Now, he admits he hesitated for several minutes. Hendricks stated he remembered being, quote, terrified with fear, and he didn't know how long he was in that hallway.
Oh, the Mandalay Bay is coming out the window.
The gunfire is going off. The suspect is still shooting. He's still an active threat. And he stayed on the 31st floor.
It's part of a massive puzzle being pieced together the night of 1 October.
When you see an incident where an officer, by his own admission, freezes, it's very disturbing.
Randy Sutton is a retired Metro Police lieutenant. He commended the incredible bravery that night and the response, but he called the video embarrassing.
You don't wait. You don't analyze. You make a decision, you look at it tactically, and you act.
2 local attorneys disagreed.
I just think in this particular situation right now, it's unfair to point a finger at Metro.
In a statement, attorney Andre Lagomarsino said it's unlikely the department will be held liable unless Metro put the victims in a position to be injured by an affirmative act of an officer. The department cannot be held legally responsible for injuries or death.
Officers have a right to make sure that their safety is protected also, as well as the citizens that they're sworn to protect and serve.
Sutton says we'll never know what could have happened, but
I do know that that hesitation could have changed the course of history.
Meanwhile, Metro Police say every officer's actions that night are being evaluated and that this is an ongoing investigation. Brian.
New footage come out finally from the Las Vegas police, and this is very damning footage, showing 2 officers and some security guards going to the 31st floor when they know the shooting is coming from a hotel room on the 32nd floor. And as we were playing this, before we had to go to break, we showed them saying 31st floor, 31st floor. They'd been saying it was the 32nd floor. Then they get out, and we stopped it as they're walking down the 31st floor, the floor under the shooting, where the shooting is going on, with their guns drawn and pointed. And let's resume with that footage, because you're going to hear what they have to say.
That's rapid fire. 32135, right above us, right above us.
Medical channel.
Stop. Just
Multiple GSWs. And there he is down 14.
Stay in your room. I'm inside the Mandalay Bay on the 31st floor. You can hear the automatic fire coming from 1 floor ahead. 1 floor above us. We can hear it above us.
Come on, 1 floor above. It's up above you. Not this floor.
Just be advised, it is automatic fire, fully automatic fire from an elevated position. Take cover.
Multiple GSWs. Legs, cerebral arteries, at the medical tent. 4A. Off of Guile, south of Rim. There's a flashing coming up from about a third of the way up. Center, down the middle of the bay.
They're just standing there.
Control, we need all units stop coming northbound on Las Vegas Boulevard because he's shooting this way. It's a horrible cover spot. Okay, all units.
10 break. No unnecessary contact on the radio, please. We know where it's at. The 32nd floor, room 135. Everyone else off the radio. I'm with Metro right now.
We know where he is. He's on the 32nd floor. These guys are on the 31st floor, and they're standing.
East of the boulevard. Control 166.
They even told him which room number, room 135.
Gunshot to the leg.
All right. So it goes on for quite some time. We're not going to play 5 minutes of them standing in the hallway as people are dying upstairs. But that's essentially what's happening. And the officer said in his report, and here we are in July. We're nearly July 1st. This is June 29th. This happened back on October the 1st. And now this is finally coming out. He says, I know I hesitated. I remember being terrified with fear. I don't blame him for that. And I think that I froze right there in the middle of the hall. For how long, I can't say. Well, he wasn't the only one. They were all there. It was a group of them. And as Free Thought Project points out, while they cowered in fear, and you heard this coming over the radio very loud and clear, he's on the 32nd floor, room 135. They're on the 31st floor. They did not budge. You saw them standing there as that announcement came over. Another guy says, we're taking gunfire. This is an officer on the ground with the crowd. It's going right over our heads. We're pinned down here with a bunch of civilians. They stand on the 31st floor, a floor underneath where the shooting is going on. Another officer coming over the police radio a little bit later. We can't worry about victims. We need to stop the shooter before we have more victims. Does anybody have eyes on the shooter? They're standing one floor under the shooter as it's going on. Knowing exactly where he is, they choose not to respond, and they walk off. The rookie trainee with Hendricks says, where are you going, sir? He replies with an inaudible response, and then the two of them walk off. And so we now know the Las Vegas police could have engaged the shooter or shooters before the shooting stopped. Lives could have been saved, but instead they waited in the hallway below. Now, again, we call people who risk their lives to save other people heroes. The reason we demand our right to arm ourselves is because when your life is at stake, you're not a hero for defending your own life, but you need to have the means to defend your own life. And that means that if you got to call the police, whether it is 60 seconds or whether it is 6 minutes, like in this case, that's too long. 60 seconds is too long. If you got a guy there with a gun and he's shooting and reloading and shooting and reloading, it's too long. It's too long for 5 people who died. It's too long for other people. And we had law officers who tell us the same thing. We had Sheriff David Clark encourage people. When he was sheriff, he said, look, get a gun, learn how to use it so that you're comfortable with it. He said, we'll get there as fast as we can. But until we get there, you're on your own. And that's an eternity. 60 seconds is very fast response from the police for this shooting at the newspaper office. But it's an eternity if you're the one there in the fish barrel being shot at.